Imagine waking up and seeing a message on your phone. You got your share of the country's earnings. What if everyone, no matter if they are rich or poor, got this money? Could this change our economies or change what it means to be a citizen? It makes people talk about fairness, value, and how society grows.
That's an exciting idea, Michelle. Some governments are already trying it. Look at Alaska's permanent fund, where people get money every year for living there. This shows how money from natural resources can help citizens. But does it really make people more equal, or is it just covering bigger problems? What do the numbers say about its effect on Alaska's wealth?
It's interesting, Guy, but let's question it. How do we make sure these payments don't cause inflation without more production? Finland tried giving unemployed people a steady income with mixed results. Ideas may not always work as planned. How do we keep the economy stable while trying big changes?
Definitely interesting. But we shouldn't forget history. Ancient Rome gave grain to its people. This shows such economic ideas are not new. Maybe history can tell us if these ideas help or harm societies. Can Rome's fall teach us about the risks of sharing wealth widely?
But here's the real puzzle. Could sharing the GDP with everyone make people richer and reduce poverty, or might it make people lazy and harm the economy? What does it mean for our future society, and how do we give to all while keeping a system that pushes for innovation and growth? Think about this problem. Giving everyone a part of the GDP could make us all better off or not change much. What if this idea changes not just money, but how people feel and how society works? How do we help everyone and still keep people's personal goals in this new situation? For example, what might happen to new businesses? Would people try more new things because they feel safe, or stop trying to be creative?
That's an interesting thought, Michelle. Looking at the past, a smart economist named Milton Friedman had a similar idea about giving people money to live better. But we need to ask, did his idea just want to share money, or also make people try harder? Alaska has a plan that works, but could it work everywhere or show bigger money gaps in a country? An interesting thing about Alaska's plan is that it uses money from natural resources. Could this work in places with fewer resources, or would it make money gaps bigger?
Good point, Guy. But think about this. How do we see success? If everyone gets part of the GDP and spends more, can that make things grow without really making more stuff? An example is Finland's basic income test, which made people feel better but didn't change job numbers much. Could GDP shares just cover up big problems like job loss and money gaps? Also, with robots replacing jobs, could a GDP share help us or stop new tech by making people not want to work?
And looking back, could we learn from Rome's fall and see the risks of giving out money without strong rules? Such plans might help now, but not support new ideas for the future. Rome's government also gave a lot of free stuff, and it fell. Are we forgetting the need for long-term strength for short-term fairness? Also, with countries more connected, would a GDP share need global help, or make countries look inward and act selfishly?
So here's a hard question. Could GDP sharing make people expect and not want to work more? Is this model a perfect world or a future with too much depending on help? How do we use these ideas to keep new ideas coming while making sure everyone gains something real? As tech changes jobs, could a universal income change how we see work and success beyond old money ways? Or will this change stop us from making progress together? Did you know the Marquesas Islands' way of sharing income is changing how we think about wealth? People get money from local resources. But here's the twist. These payments change how we see getting rich and why we work. Could everyone getting a GDP share change how we see money and what motivates us?
That's interesting, Michelle. This shows how tricky sharing wealth can be. Research says these payments help some, but don't make everyone equal. For example, in Alaska, everyone gets money, but richer people still make more because they use chances better. Could this make the gap between rich and poor bigger instead of smaller?
Good point, Guy. Let's think about innovation too. In Finland, basic income made people happier, but more jobs didn't come from it. GDP shares might let people try new ideas because they worry less about money. But could this safety make people less willing to take risks needed for big new ideas? Might they prefer staying safe over trying new things?
Interesting thoughts, Ryan. Giving resources to keep peace isn't new look at Rome's grain dole. These help fast but can hide problems like reliance and slow economies. Are we focusing too much on quick fixes instead of long-term growth? Maybe a global GDP share needs strong rules to avoid these traps.
This leads to an important question. Are we fixing a symptom, not the problem of money differences? While sharing GDP can help everyone, is it just a simple fix for a bigger issue? As tech changes jobs, can GDP sharing change success beyond work, or might it lower ambition?
Yes, Michelle. As we move to tech-focused jobs, this change is key. Think about AI. Will GDP sharing help with the shift, or keep things the same? Experts like Thomas Piketty say wealth sharing needs to keep up with tech, or differences will grow. Can a GDP share help with change, or get in the way?
Exactly. This could change global power too. If everyone got a GDP share, smaller countries might depend on richer ones. Expert Daron Acemoglu says this could create new power problems, where rich countries control poor ones. Could this stop shared success and make new power levels?
Good point, Ryan. Like old Rome, sharing without making people rely on it is a hard balance. Even with global help to avoid these problems, could it cause fights? In today's world, GDP sharing might need new ways to work together. Can we make a plan for growth that keeps us all moving forward?
So here's the big question. If GDP sharing is appealing, will it bring us together or cause us to stop growing? Could it shift success from just having money to shared happiness? As we face new economic times, is now the time to create a new story of progress, or should we be careful with these new ideas? Did you know some people think universal basic income could spread wealth better as machines take over more jobs? But the big question is, if everyone gets part of the GDP, does it change what it means to be successful? Would it make us think differently about work, money, and each other?
That's an interesting question, Michelle. In an essay by Thomas Paine from 1797, he suggested something like taxing land ownership to give money to everyone. This was more than fairness. It changed how we think about owning things. Could sharing GDP make us change today's economy the same way?
That's interesting, Guy. But using Paine's idea, could forcing wealth sharing cause social problems instead of peace? Finland tried basic income, and people felt happier, but it didn't seem to help the economy much. Would sharing GDP aim for happiness or economic growth? Can we have both without issues?
Good point, Ryan. After big wars, countries gave veterans money to help them fit in again. It was part thank you, part need. It brought not just money balance, but also social unity. Could GDP sharing be today's way to unite our diverse, machine-driven global world? Or would it make people lazy?
Interesting thought, Sonia. But could this new system change what humans want? Instead of making lots of money, could we start valuing helping others and growing personally more? Would GDP sharing make people follow their passions instead of profits, starting a new era? Or would it stop people from wanting to innovate and grow?
Michelle, that's deep. But look at Bhutan. They focus on gross national happiness. While everyone else looks at GDP, they care more about well-being. Can GDP sharing make the world think like that, or does it only work for some cultures?
True, Guy, but we can't forget the problems. If countries start GDP sharing and still have cultural gaps, could we end up making those gaps bigger? Denmark has a welfare system, but also struggles to make people work harder. Could GDP shares become safety nets that keep gaps wide instead of bringing people together?
Ryan, your point reminds me of Rome and other old stories. Sharing wealth might calm things now, but cause problems later if we don't plan for growth. Looking at the world, could GDP sharing make countries focus too much on themselves and hurt global teamwork, making it harder to grow and find peace together?
So here's the big question. Could GDP sharing really change what prosperity means, leading us to a future full of shared happiness and new ideas? Or would it make us depend on it too much, stopping progress? When we change what wealth means, do we get stronger or weaker together? As we look at our economic future, what kind of global story do we create, one that joins us or pulls us apart? Did you know that while the average money earned per person globally is about $11,000, some countries don't see much of it? Now imagine if everyone got an equal share of their country's money. Could this big change affect not just our money systems, but also our whole society? And if it made people care more about happiness than money, would we see a new kind of success?
Interesting, Michelle. But look at Alaska, where money comes from some of the state's oil revenue. The big question is, can this last? When the oil profits go down, can these plans keep working? John Maynard Keynes talked about making society fairer by sharing money. But with limited resources, could this make money gaps bigger if it's done worldwide? Remember, resources aren't the same everywhere.
A good point, Guy. But think about this. If sharing money made people buy more without working more, could prices go up and ruin the plan? Finland tried giving basic income, which made people happy but didn't create more jobs. Could sharing money this way make costs rise without real growth? How do we handle rising prices in a global economy? Should we change how we think about money and happiness?
In the past, Easter Island's ecosystem fell apart, and the Roman Empire relied on grain handouts, showing risks of too much dependence on sharing. Could sharing money, if not planned well, stop progress by making people expect handouts? How can we learn from history to avoid the same problems worldwide? Can new technology help solve this?
But here's a problem. Could sharing money for everyone change success from personal achievement to group happiness, changing how we measure success? If sharing money made people happy without economic growth, would we see success in happiness, not wealth? Or would it stop us from pushing for new ideas and progress? Should these changes affect how we see human potential and goals?
It's an interesting idea, Michelle. But take Bhutan's focus on people's happiness culture is key. Could sharing money match a world culture that values happiness over wealth? Or is it too idealistic for economies that need growth? Does it mean a change from caring about money to caring about happiness? How might different cultures affect how we share money?
But here's the issue. While everyone wants happiness, Japan's slow economy in 1990 with high happiness shows that well-being isn't the same as prosperity. Could sharing money make people feel safe without real backing, creating a false happiness bubble? As technology changes jobs, how do we stop money sharing from hiding economic problems? Could technology offer solutions?
True, Ryan. Like the Roman grain could calm unrest but not help growth, modern money shares might hide problems. Could this make selfish policies, creating more divisions than unity? While sharing wealth, how do we keep countries from focusing only on themselves, against the teamwork needed for global progress? Could international groups help promote fair money sharing?
So the big question is, could sharing money unify us with shared values of happiness and sustainability, changing global progress, or does it risk stopping innovation and growth by creating a comfort zone? By rethinking success, do we risk dependence and slow growth, or start a new era of collective success? As we think about these changes, are we building a future that helps everyone, or just dreaming of a perfect world? What steps should we take to make sure this change is helpful and fair? Did you know Finland tried giving everyone money, making people happier, but jobs stayed the same? This is puzzling because we think money changes things. Can giving everyone part of the economy make people happy without growing the economy? Should success mean more money or feeling good?
That's interesting, Michelle. Look at Alaska's permanent fund too. In 2019, a University of Alaska study showed it makes people happy but doesn't change income gaps or jobs. Maybe there's a limit to how this can help. Could sharing the economy just hide real problems instead of fixing them? Haven't we seen quick fixes make things worse before?
Good point, Guy. Think about it. If we rely on sharing the economy, will it stop people from starting new businesses? Economist Paul Krugman says safety nets might stop people from taking risks needed for new ideas. If sharing money keeps people safe, could it stop them from being creative, which is needed for a strong economy? Have there been times when feeling too safe made things slow down?
Exactly, Ryan. Look at the Roman Empire. Their welfare helped short-term, but maybe made people lazy, making the empire weak. Can we plan GDP sharing to help people without making them rely on it too much, learning from mistakes, but keeping society strong?
Think bigger. If sharing the economy focused on being happy, not just getting rich, could this change how we see success? Economist Amartya Sen says being well is diverse. Should a nation's health be about its happiness, not just money? What if happiness, not the economy, led the rules?
Interesting idea, Michelle. Moving to a happiness economy sounds nice, but does it fit all countries? Bhutan has gross national happiness, but will money-focused countries like the US or China think it works? Could sharing money globally try to solve problems while ignoring cultural differences?
That brings up culture differences, Guy. Japan shows that feeling happy doesn't mean big economic growth. Could choosing happiness over hard work make us lazy or ignore big economy problems? How important is culture when thinking about a system like this?
Good point, Ryan. Think about unity versus division, like the Marshall Plan helping growth by giving aid. Could global economy sharing help people work together or show unfairness by pointing out how much each gives and gets? Do we need new international teamwork to make it fair?
As we rethink success beyond the economy, could this start a new world of progress or make us too relaxed, stopping innovation and energy? Does changing success make a better world, or is it just a dream? How do we make sure this change isn't just a big idea, but becomes real? Where do we balance dreams with what can really be done?